Brooks, Todd McNeil is the oldest independently and privately owned independent insurance agency in the country, to the best of my knowledge. 1839 we were founded. One person, two products, life and fire. That was it. Today, we have 4 different industry verticals. We have personal lines insurance, which I'll talk about briefly tonight, homes, autos, and toys and umbrellas, business/commercial insurance, individual, group, and health insurance and life insurance and fixed annuity products, and Medicare Advantage and supplement products. So we have now 64 passionate professionals. We have Kate Gussie and Jason and Frank here tonight. And we have 5 offices in Connecticut, and we have 2 offices in South Carolina, the Northeast, the west of Myrtle Beach, Northwest, between Columbia and Greenville. We are licensed in those 2 states, and we're licensed in 18 others to accommodate large commercial risks, affluent personal lines clients with multiple homes. And I've been often asked, how did you make 184 years in business? And there's several reasons. One, I would say, God's provision. We don't control everything. Integrity and acumen at the top. We have clients that appreciate our value proposition and the unique model that we have. We have those passionate professionals I told you about. We have the key and right carrier partners, and we have significant community investment and involvement and reputation, now hyphenated with digital marketing and a digital reputation. So if you want to go to our website, check out the community section, you'll find a lot there. And I encourage every employee to pick their passion and find something that is important to them and give back and make a difference. And I put my money where my mouth is. I pay for 8 hours a year to do just that. Because if we're not part of the solution, we're part of the problem. I digress, back to insurance. Okay, 2 basic models, the independent insurance agency model and the direct model. And there's some fuzziness between those, but I'm really trying to keep it simple tonight. As an independent insurance agency, we choose which carriers we allow to insure our clients. We choose based on their financial strength, their reputation, the quality of their people, the quality of their products, and most importantly, the quality of their claims departments. Do they stand by and honor the promise? And if they don't, we fire them and we move that business. So we are in control. We are not beholden to any one particular company. So let's talk about directs. These are the companies that come to mind when you think about the various advertisements, jingles, claims, unusual animals. I really don't get that whole thing. These are massive companies with 50 billion in revenue, and that's the best that they can come up with their value proposition is fast and cheap and weird. I don't know, I think they could do better. But more importantly, it really does a disservice to the average consumer because it improperly focuses their attention on just fast and cheap, not what do you actually need and what the consequences are of not having a custom insurance program. So when they reach out to consumers and consumers respond to those ads, they call looking for fast and cheap, which they get. State minimum limits in Connecticut, $25,000 per person, $50,000 for all the people in the car, $25,000 for property damage. That was actually designed for urban dwellers, people who live in the cities, because the chance for a loss is so high due to the concentration of people in cars and buildings that the insurance premiums are quite high in the inner cities. So the legislators decided that rather than have no insurance and have like Mad Max zones in the middle of cities, that they would at least have some kind of limit. And that's really all that's appropriate for them. Anybody else in suburbia or rural America should never be walking around with those limits because you end up putting everything that you own at risk if you do. So if I may just digress and do a little sidebar analogy, I want you to imagine that you're, I don't know, my age, and you're starting to think about estate planning. And you think about all the attorneys that you could choose. As you're evaluating them, let's say there's a subsection that says, hey, we can turn around your will and your trust in 15 minutes or less. Is that really germane to your decision? I mean, this is kind of important. You're protecting your assets, and you want to minimize your taxes, and you want to pass on your assets to your heirs. That doesn't work for me. In my experience, usually it takes a little more than 15 minutes to do something right, especially if it's important. To do something cheap, I don't know. A brand new attorney has a lower hourly rate than a 30-year experienced attorney. I get that. So I expect to pay a certain premium for that acumen. I don't want to get fleeced, but there's value there, right? There's value. And by focusing everybody's attention on fast and cheap, they are doing the consumer a disservice. And that's the difference with Brooks, Todd McNeil. We develop a customized insurance program for your clients' needs, not only to protect their assets today, but also in the future. So I'm going to talk on three things. I'm going to talk about the placement of insurance, I'm going to talk about the maintenance of insurance, and I'm going to talk about the claim experience. Just boil it down to those three things and do a comparison between the two models. When you call into a direct writer, you want fast and cheap, right? This is how they trained you to think. This is what they want you to think and what they want you to buy. And they have no problem selling you minimum limits because that's what they advertise. It doesn't matter if you have $1 million home and that every time you get behind the wheel of your car, you're putting everything that you've worked for at risk. No, that's okay, because they work for that company. That's who signs their paycheck. That's who they're beholden to. An independent insurance agent, we work for you. You sign our paychecks. We are beholden to you. Our primary focus is you. And that's why we managed to survive and stay relevant after 184 years, is because of that client focus. And it's critically important. So let's move on to the second phase, and that is kind of the maintenance of the insurance through the seasons of life, right? As life goes by, hopefully, you pick up the maybe the second home, the boat, the toy, junior starts driving, you really need an umbrella now. And we're gonna recommend those coverages for you to consider and not wait for you to contact us. That's important because it's hard to remember everything. And when it comes to your renewal, if it's above a certain average threshold, and because we have so many companies, we have 89 companies that I'm contracted with, and we have about 20 in personal lines we're directly contracted with. When that increase is above the average, and there's no claim or additional car or violation or accident that's going to drive up premiums, we proactively put the account out to market. And we call the client and say, hey, we noticed it happening, and we put it out to bid. We're contacting you with a possible option. We're suggesting that you consider company H. Now, just because you could save $400 doesn't necessarily mean it's the right choice. You're like, what do you mean? I'm saving $400. Why wouldn't I take that? Because we are in a hard market. Prices are gradually rising, insurance companies are losing money, and they are inspecting everything. If you have branches over your roof, if you have moss on your roof, siding that needs to be repaired, walking surfaces, the self-closing gate to the pool that doesn't close, all these things are going to need to be fixed. And you're going to have 60 days to do it, or they're going to cancel you. And they're going to cancel you for failure to comply with loss control regs. And now you have a problem because no standard company will take you. And you go in the excess surplus lines area where you pay more premium for less coverage and a lot of exclusions until such time as you repair your home. So that is part of what you can expect at the Brooks, Todd McNeil model, as opposed to a direct writer model where they just send out the renewal and the price is the price. Because for the most part, they don't have any other options. That's it. Third scenario, the claim. And this is important because if you're not an attorney and you've never been an insurance claims professional, you don't really understand how much there is to lose. And when you pay $3,000 for your annual premium and you're talking to a $50 billion company, and you're talking to an employee of that company, how much leverage do you have? How important are you? How incented are they to really do the right thing by you? I don't know, if it were me, I would feel like I had a pretty small voice. And sure, you can write a letter to the insurance department, make a complaint, they'll do an investigation, they'll make the carrier sweat, maybe you'll get a little bit more out of it, maybe you won't. So then you have to go get an attorney to represent your interests. Problem with that is that you're gonna have to give up a third of whatever you recover. That's not a good feeling, that's not a great value proposition. But at Brooks, Todd McNeil, we are the only independent insurance agency that I'm aware of in Connecticut anyway, that has invested in our own claim department, where we employ people who worked at the insurance carriers for 30 years, who know the inner workings, and who are very, very sharp. And they're there as your consultant, as your advocate, if they don't feel that it's someone's being treated fairly. We take the notice of loss, we explain the process, we're there as a sounding board, and we are there for you. And if the company makes a decision that we don't agree with, once middle management has not complied, I will get on the phone, because the claims reports directly to me. I am a licensed claims adjuster. I handled national accounts claims for travelers, and I was a litigation specialist in a former life. So I do know how to talk the talk, and I know how to work with senior management, and they understand that when I call, and I have 2 to 4 million in premium with our typical top partner, it's a $4 million phone call. It's not a $3,000 phone call. And those companies who tell us that we're a great agency and want to continue to do business with us and want more of our business because they tell us that we do things right, are going to be concerned if I'm upset that they're not honoring their word and standing by the promise, and that's to pay promptly and fairly whenever there's a claim. Who would you rather work with? Someone who's working for you, that has the acumen and the expertise to customize a program for you, that's going to be with you as your life and your insurance needs change, who's going to monitor your insurance program, and is going to be there for you when you need help most, not call 1-800-GOOD-LUCK. Because conversely, the other option is to be pitted against a massive company. You're a small voice, they're an order taker scenario. They'll do what you ask, but you have to know what you need. And not every person who's not an insurance professional really knows what they need unless there's conversation and consultation. And the choice is yours. But as you consider your options tonight, I'll leave you with this. Who would you rather work with? Someone who doesn't work for you or someone who does? Thank you for your time and attention.